Hello, everybody. How you doing out there in TV land or social media land? It is Charlene again, coming to you with another installment of Medical Talk in Layman's Terms with Nurse Charlene. Yes, I'm a nurse. Yeah, so coming to you with a topic from a series called Back to the Basics, meaning I'm going back to the root of why I started in the first place. And that is talking about um, a lot of stuff that we're all going through, or we have a family member, loved one, or someone alike, someone that we care about, or even don't care about, but we know and stuff that has something going on and stuff. And these subjects that I'll be going over, they're going to visit that. Another thing is I do ask that people message me if they have other things to talk about and stuff like that, so that I have other avenues to visit. And every once in a while, I may veer off the back to the basics and go into that and just tell you where that came from and everything. And then I go right back to the basics. So tonight is going to be diabetes, a complete overview. So I've never presented diabetes in the way that I'm going to do tonight and everything, but definitely it's going to be some good stuff. You're going to get some nuggets. You're going to get some things to watch out for, and it might enlighten you a little bit on diabetes. You could be newly diagnosed, or otherwise, or have been, and just ain't told nobody and stuff, but it's okay and stuff. So like my girl said before and stuff, hype her up. So y'all come on in. I see already. Welcome in, sis. Pastor Carol Mayfield, and she said, "Good evening, Nurse Charlene," and stuff. Good evening, my dear, and stuff. So definitely we're gonna get on down to some diabetes. It's important because probably every single one of us that get on tonight or see it in days to come has probably been diagnosed with at least pre-diabetes, if not the full diabetes. And the ones that have been diagnosed with diabetes, you already know you had to understand the assignment. So let's go. So I'm going to, before I get any further and stuff, I'm going to read my podcast disclaimer so that I can continue to give you this information and everything. Welcome on in, Auntie Sandra. She said, "Hello, Nurse Charlene and Rosie. I made it in Los Angeles for your grandson's birthday, but you was not gonna miss. Bless your heart. Thank you so much. And happy birthday, Javion from social media land. Happy birthday, sweetie." All right. Good job, Sandra. All right. So I'm going to read my podcast disclaimer, and then I'm going to go in on diabetes, a complete overview. Okay. The podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended to replace professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, not to replace it. Always consult with your physician for any medical concerns. If you have questions about a medical condition, reach out to a qualified healthcare professional. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay seeking it because of something you heard on a podcast. Guest views are their own and may not reflect the views of the host or this podcast. The information shared is for general knowledge. It should not be used for any legal or medical purposes. Yep, I'm going to say it. Yes. So I can't help you with your lawsuit, but if you're doing it in good faith, I hope you win. All right. I just want to make sure I got that out. And then always consult with a licensed professional who knows your medical history for a meaningful evaluation. And stay informed, but always seek professional advice when it comes to your health. Sound good, you guys? Because I'm going to keep on saying it because I got to make sure that I keep it inside my head what's going on and everything. Welcome on in, Auntie Josie. She said, hello, everyone. Hope everyone is having a blessed evening. Absolutely. We're live. So we got to be having a blessed evening and everything. So definitely thank you for that, Josie, and stuff. So it's back to the basics, and this is part one of I don't even know how many part series, but I'm gonna be talking about the most basic medical conditions and the most common ones first. And then every once in a while you'll see me veer to the left or veer to the right and talk about something else in between. And that's for all my people that want to come on. I'm going to start having guests on for different situations or different topics and everything. And some of you know who you are, and some of you guys, you're going to just look out for your messages and stuff, because might have to get you on here so you can talk about it and everything. So we'll see how it goes. All right. So definition of diabetes mellitus, that's what it's called, DM. And that is a chronic metabolic, and of course I'm gonna give you the definition to that. It's layman's terms, meaning keeping it simple so that even somebody that knows nothing about medical will come out knowing something about some type of medical each and every podcast. So starting over again, a chronic metabolic disorder where the body either does not produce enough insulin or cannot use it effectively, leading to elevated blood glucose or hyperglycemia. Hyper means too much. You too fidgety. So hyperglycemia means too much glucose in your body. It's too much circulating around, and then it starts tearing things down. So that's where the problem is. Metabolic, that's called the ongoing process of converting food into energy, making the things you put in your mouth and eat into energy and the materials your cell need to live, grow, and function. Meaning, I got a slow metabolism. Ooh, I got a fast metabolism. That's why I'm so skinny. No, that's not necessarily healthy. And then a slow one is not necessarily healthy either. Oh, welcome back in, Miss Mary, Nurse Mary. She said, hi, Charlene. I'm glad to be back. I missed a couple of weeks. Yes, you had a little party and stuff. Celebrate yourself. Happy birthday again. And you said, I've been busy with work and school. Oh, you went back to school? Well, I love it. I love it. Now you're going to have to come on and teach and help teach me too and stuff. You said, glad to be back on, and hearing a part of this is helpful information. Absolutely. Thank you, Miss Mary and stuff, because I'm doing it for you guys. I'm doing it for me too, because I got to get it out. If I hold on to it and gatekeep it and don't give it out and stuff, then how does anybody else know, so that they can start talking to their doctors properly, so that you can start catching things faster? And if you catch them faster, you got a better outcome at living. So that's the whole purpose of this and stuff. So let's go ahead and dig on in. All right. So insulin, this is just telling you what insulin is, and that is, it's a hormone made by the pancreas. A pancreas is a part of your body like your stomach, your liver, your gallbladder, and everything else and stuff. A pancreas is a part of that. And it produces this hormone called insulin. And insulin helps glucose enter cells to help you function. Because we do need sugar. It's a lie. If anybody told you don't need no sugar, like I don't eat no sugar and stuff, that's not to be celebrated. If you don't eat no sugar, you're gonna die. If you don't eat no salt, you're gonna die. You need some of it. You don't need it in excess, and everything. So that's the problem. So that's what we're gonna get to the bare bones of tonight and stuff. It's not what you eat, it's eating too much of it. That's the problem. If you have a piece of cake, you eat a slice, you might be good. You eat the whole cake, you got a problem. Why did you eat the whole cake? You see what I'm saying? So it's a reason behind that. And it's the whole cake eaters that get the problems, and everything. Whatever made you do that is a mental health problem. It's a physical problem. It's a physical craving and everything and stuff. But we're going to talk about it because you see that board back there. I'm never going to stop drawing. So you're going to always see my little board. And I take my time and I study what I want to put on it and everything. And you might not could see it really good, but I'm going to explain it to you as I go along. And Pastor Carol says, Nurse Allen is awesome. Oh, you're awesome too, Pastor, and everything and stuff. But yes, so that's where all of this is coming from and everything. So I have up on the board, but also on my notes and stuff, the 3 P's. That is this right here. And so now explain it because it's layman terms. So I got to explain to you what I'm giving you. Even if you've heard it, let it be a review for you. But some people don't know this from that and stuff. And that's who I want to reach also, just in case, because you're blessed if you know all of this and everything. And then you can, team up with me and stuff. We'll put you on, and everything. But one of the 3 P's of diabetes. So it's not just any kind of 3 P's. It's the 3 P's of diabetes. One is polyuria. And so that means excessive or frequent urination. Urea is pee, your pee and stuff. And poly meaning too much. So too much pee. Or something in other words. So you see how I'm breaking that down and stuff. What I'm saying is always peeing. I just look at a glass of, I can look at a glass of alcohol, rubbing alcohol, and I got to go to the bathroom, and stuff like that. That's that excessive, meaning it is over and beyond your normal. And you'll know when to pick up because you ain't going to be able to go nowhere without having to go to the bathroom 5 minutes later. You're going to know where all the gas station bathrooms is, all the Walmart bathrooms, all the everybody's bathroom everywhere because you got to go so much. So that's 1 P. Polydipsia. So dipsia meaning thirst. Poly meaning too much. That means I'm thirsty and I'm thirsty. I've been drinking water. I drink water all day, all night, all day, every day, and I'm still thirsty. Yeah, something is coming to visit you. Your body's snitching, okay? So polydipsia is excessive thirst. That means too much thirst. Like it's okay you're thirsty, you drink something. If you never quench your thirst, either you drinking the wrong thing, but if it's always water and stuff, we know that that's the universal drink, and stuff. It should be water, and stuff. So if you're over drinking it and you still can't quench your thirst, that's a problem. Your body's snitching. Why don't you go snitch on it and tell your doctor? Because that's what's happening. It's happening. And so third, because it's 3 P's, polyphagia. Phagia meaning hunger. It's to eat. It's like the Pac-Man eating them little. He had polyphagia, you might have cleared the board and stuff, but he was getting on down. He didn't need to eat all of that and the ghost too and the big old power pellet things and stuff like that. But I'm saying that to try to keep it lighthearted and stuff like that. But polyphagia, excessive hunger. I'm not just going to eat and then I'm full. Okay, and then we push the plate, away from me. No, it's push the plate. Oh, if you guys see, I got a little, it's makeup. I had a fight with it. I hope that's, I'm a little special, I'll be having trouble and stuff, but the little makeup then dropped down and hit me on the cheek, and then I couldn't scrub it off and stuff, so it looked like I might have been crying, or I might look extra shiny, sparkly, or something like that. Whatever happens, sparkle is good for everybody. It's good for America. But anyway, Pastor Carol said overeating. Exactly. But it's not just overeating, it's eating excessively much. You can't push the plate away. You just constantly hungry, and you done filled up your belly and you're about to burst, and you want a little bit more and a little bit more. You're not even giving your what we call our stomach time to digest. You just filling that poor little stomach up and it's ready to burst. And then you know, what ends up happening is you probably end up having to throw up, you know, because your body will find a way to attack you if you be acting up and stuff like that. But the other attack is, welcome to diabetes. Yes. Can I take your order? And stuff. That's what it does and stuff. So Pastor Carol said you can't control the eating. Yeah, you can't control it. Once this sets in, it's a weird almost mental health type of eating. You can't push that plate away no matter what. It's a problem. It's an absolute problem. And that's when you know you crossed over. You crossed over. If I can't tell you crossed over, your body will and stuff. You crossed over. And then you become excessively sleepy because your blood sugar then hit 500 or something like that and stuff. And it's very special. But I got that on the board so that you know why I'm giving out these numbers and stuff. I got a normal, impaired, and just diabetic, plain old diabetic at this point, you know, and stuff like that, as well as your A1C level. If you've ever heard it, anybody over the age of 40 and stuff, you might have heard of A1C level. Welcome on in, Rosie Granny Allen, the love of my life. She said, hey there, Nurse Charlene. Bless you. Love the... it say love the bird. Love the board and back. Let's go. Down with diabetes in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. And I love you. Yes. Let's get on down. This is we talking about diabetes here and everything. So I'm going to tell you about some types. There's several types. I'm only going to talk tonight about the 3 most common, but there's actually about 5 more types. And it's probably even more than that. But the main ones and stuff, I'll just give them an honorable mention, but I just want to talk about them and stuff. And this is important because this is some real tough stuff we're dealing with here and stuff, because it'll run up on you and catch you. You be like, but I don't even eat candy and stuff. Yeah, it's not about candy. It's about whatever you eat that's sweet in excess. So even an apple ain't safe if you eat the whole bag of apples. Orange ain't safe if you eat the whole bag of oranges, you know, and stuff. Not just a orange in a sitting, but the whole bag, you know, and stuff. Not giving your body a chance to rest in between. Yeah, that's when it comes in. So we're going to talk about, there's one called type 1 diabetes. There's really a such thing. It's called type 1 diabetes. And it's autoimmune destruction of insulin producing beta cells. I know that was a mouthful, huh? Blah, 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 blah. No, it's type 1. It's autoimmune. That means it's a self-destructive, meaning your body fights itself, you know, and it destroys these insulin producing cells that actually tame the lion we call glucose or sugar and stuff. So remember, insulin is a hormone made by the pancreas, and it's the hormone that keeps it's supposed to keep sugar or blood sugars in check. When it's impaired or it's being destroyed by your own body, like in type 1 or something like that and stuff, what it's doing is it's destroying your helper cells, which is insulin cells or insulin energy cells and stuff. So if it's destroying them, then you got a whole, if it's destroying the help, then you got a whole bunch of lions roaring around seeking whom they may devour, everything tearing it up and everything and stuff like that. So if you don't have enough insulin, or your insulin is impaired by something else, which I'll get into later and stuff, that's where this all comes in. So this is type 1 and stuff. Miss Josie said, went to the doctor yesterday. My A1C is 6.2. Actually, that for you, Josie, I think you said it was a little bit higher at one time and stuff like that. So 6.2 is on the mend. So go ahead and I tip my hat to you and stuff, because that's a good thing and stuff. You know, that means that you're going backwards. It doesn't mean restrict every single sugar. It just means be selective when you pick up something sugary, and stuff. Be selective. Do I really want to eat this, or do I want to save it for this, and stuff? And then, looking at those food labels, I did a podcast on what is the nutrition facts, those labels on the back of your food and stuff, and how to read them and stuff like that. That's where all that comes in at. I'll probably visit it again in a future podcast, that, just to make sure I get back to the basics and everything and stuff. But good one and stuff. You doing good, Josie, and stuff. And just keep on, so that you can actually reverse it, because you can actually get yourself out of the trouble you got yourself in by being diabetic and everything. Welcome on in, Dad. Raymond Buckner. He said, but I love candy. Yes, you can love candy. You just can't eat the whole Snicker, or you can't have a Snicker 3 times a day, and stuff like that. So pick your battle and stuff. If you're going to eat, and you just can't resist it, just limit yourself to how much you eat, because a Snicker is not going to throw you into full diabetes. A Snicker, a Snicker once a week or something like that, you might get away with it and stuff. There is actually a way to get away with it. But a Snicker 3 times a day, all day long, or, it don't have to be a Snicker. I just guessed a Snicker and stuff. But just any kind of candy and everything. Yes, Pastor Carol said, good advice. Yes, absolutely and stuff. Because it's, like I said, it's not what we eat, because our body needs sugar. Our body needs salt. Our body needs a certain amount of potassium. Our body needs magnesium and all these other things and stuff. And they come from our foods we eat. But if we eat too little of this one and it's a healthier food, and too much of this one and it's an unhealthy food, guess what? We're going to get the unhealthy things to come visit us, if that makes sense and everything. So going back to type 1 diabetes and stuff. So like I said, it's a self-destructive thing that destroys the cells that we need to use for energy and to help us and everything, therefore causing other problems. And it's usually diagnosed in childhood and early adulthood, and it requires lifelong insulin. That means a man-made insulin, because your body cannot sustain you, because your body is destroying any type of insulin activity in your body. So you have to have man-made insulin. There's nothing wrong with you, or to the point where you feel bad or something like that and stuff. It's just something that the earlier you find it, the better you'll be, because then you won't be so sick, because you can already just pretty much guess, and if it catches you real early at a childhood, you'll become an expert by the time you're, early adult on up, and everything. So it's just something to look out for. That's why your body is a snitch. It's going to show you that this is happening and stuff. So then you got type 2. This is the most common. One is like for young adults and children and stuff like that. And that's where you normally find it and everything. Where type 2 is the one that sneak up on us in the form of pre-diabetes. How many people got pre-diabetes or had pre-diabetes? Look, the nurse had it. Oh, no, huh? Okay. Yes, I'm a human being. I eat what y'all eat. I get steak, and I get whatever, everybody else eat. Or if you're vegan, I eat vegetables too. I eat my broccoli and cauliflower and squash or whatever, and stuff. Yeah, but I can still catch it. Catch feelings. Okay. Rosie Grandy Alice said, teach, nurse, teach. And Pastor Carol said, will you be discussing later what diabetes can do to your body? Oh, yeah, of course. I couldn't just get off of here without doing that. So definitely, Pastor Carol brought up a good point. Am I going to be discussing it? Absolutely. I ain't got no choice. Look, I don't have a choice. Yes. So type 2 diabetes is what we call our insulin resistance. And it's more like relating it to insulin deficiency, meaning Your body does produce insulin on its own, not man-made in the little bottle or the little pen and stuff. It actually does produce it. It's just not enough and not sufficiently to clobber, or put the glucose in check that circulates in your body. And we're going to talk about it. I'm telling you, I'm getting there. And then also type 2 diabetes, guess what it's linked to? Obesity. Obesity means overweight, over your body mass index, your BMI. And so if you've ever heard of that, if you haven't, it's okay and stuff. It just means that you're overweight, and you're overweight weight, and everything. And that's what links you to diabetes type 2. Also, poor diet. Well, if I eat Skittles all day and stuff, Skittles for breakfast, Skittles for lunch, Skittles, I'm just saying. If I eat wake up and eat cinnamon rolls, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or I have to have a meal and a dessert with everything and stuff like that, I'm probably gonna run into some things. It's just certain things that you got to kind of limit yourself to, even though they're there and stuff. You don't have to take everything in, or take your time, plan it out, so that you can get some of that good stuff in and everything. Is nobody said you couldn't at all. Just do it in some type of moderation. Have a conscience for your body. Your body got a conscience. It snitches on you and stuff. So have a conscience for it and stuff. So then poor diet. So also this main thing, inactivity. You know what that means? That means you're not working out, you're not dancing, you're not doing nothing. Yeah. I'm just saying and stuff. So yes, that's where that comes in at and stuff. Inactivity meaning no physical activity, no running, no jogging, no speed walking, no exercise, no leg lifts, or no treadmill, no nothing. Yeah, you'll get a visitor. It's called diabetes type 2. I'll just say that. And then the most it's type 2 is the most common form of diabetes. It accounts for 90 to 95% of the cases. You know how high that is? It only go to 100. So if you at 90 to 95, that means that, yeah, it's very common. Why you think every single one of us is probably pre-diabetes, even from birth and stuff. So I want to talk about that too and stuff. The third type of diabetes is called gestational diabetes. This is for the women of reproductive age, the women that get pregnant, and stuff like that. And it's called gestational diabetes, and it's usually diagnosed during pregnancy. Make no mistake, it's deadly. Make no mistake, it is diabetes. And make no mistake, it is very, very dangerous to you and the baby, not just the baby or not just you. Yeah, it's an equal opportunity lender. So it's going to lend you some pain. It's going to lend the baby some pain. The poor little baby, and stuff. But yes. And for any women out there that's ever had to take one of those glucose or drink the poisonous Sprite, and stuff, it tastes like lemon, soda, and so much sugar that you never want to eat sugar for about 10 years after that, after drinking a bottle of that and stuff. It's called usually I think it's called a glucose, don't quote me on this, but glucose tolerance test or something like that and stuff, where they're trying to see how diabetic or how close to diabetes you might be during the pregnancy actually and stuff. So it's something to look out for and stuff. And I'm wondering if I should do it now. Yep, I'm gonna do it now and stuff. So ladies, just because you got a big old baby and stuff, you push out, my baby was 11 pounds, 18,000 ounces and stuff like that. Yeah, that's not cute. And stuff. Maybe if you're a certain ethnicity and, your your ethnicity or cultural background, you guys are genetically predisposed to be larger than other people and stuff. Maybe in that case or something like that, if you have a 15-pound baby or something, because it's been actually a such thing as that and stuff. But it's probably not the cute, just like having a 1-pound baby or something like that, or no pound baby, you know, it's the few ounces or something like that. It's dangerous. So even if you have a little itty bitty baby, it's dangerous. But if you have a big old giant baby, ooh, he's so fat with them chugger, she's so fat with them chubby cheeks and thunder thigh. Yeah, that baby probably got diabetes. Or they gonna develop diabetes, you know, and stuff. So guess what? It's not always the cutest thing when they so big that they rolling over and they slumping over and stuff, and they got rolls on top of rolls and on top of rolls. Yeah, it might be a little cute, you know, and stuff. They look like the Michelin Man or something, the Marshmallow Man and stuff, but it's not the greatest thing that your baby should have. Don't be proud and putting down somebody else's little normal size baby and stuff, because yeah, it's not the thing to do, you know, and stuff. That baby is probably gonna have some problems, asthma, as well as a whole bunch of other health problems. Then you wonder where it came from. Yes, it started off when they were born. They were in your stomach getting really huge and stuff, and you probably came down with some diabetes, and the baby did too, you know, and stuff. And sometimes they can escape it, the baby more than the mother, but you end up having diabetes after, you know, and stuff. So you have to end up checking yourself during pregnancy and then even after. So you got to watch out for that, because now it's saying, hello, it's snitching, it's gonna see you about it, and you'll know. So there's 2 more types. I'm just gonna say their names. One is called MADI, or maturity onset diabetes of the young, and it's genetic. That's all I'm gonna say about it. It's in your genes. You'll know it if you known anybody else in your family that had it and stuff. The other one is called secondary diabetes, and it's due to medication like steroids, pancreatic disease, because remember, the pancreas makes insulin. So if there's a disease process on the pancreas that's causing trouble in the pancreas and stuff, then you could be at risk for that. And then also hormonal disorders can make you up for diabetes, make you diabetic somehow. And that's the rare forms and stuff. They're not something that hits all the time and stuff. So, ooh, what was that? Oh, okay. I hit a button. I don't know what I'm doing and stuff. So the age groups hardest hit: type 1 diabetes. I told you about that. That's the juvenile to young adulthood, and that's mostly children, teen, and young adults. Did y'all hear what I said? Children, teen, and young adults, meaning Takis, Cheetos, nacho cheese on top of Cheetos, on top of Doritos, on top. Yeah, that it might look cute. It might even taste cute. Potato chip ice cream. They make so much good stuff for these kids, huh? Yeah, it's not good stuff. But anyway, just think about what they eat. Do they eat a well-balanced meal? So you wonder why they become adults with diabetes, or sometimes it hit them before they even become 21, you know, or something like that, or they're 21 with diabetes, full-fledged diabetes. That's where that comes from. Also, so this is age groups hardest hit. The other one is adults over 40, but increasingly more common in younger adults, you know, in their mid to late 20s on up, you know, and stuff, 240 and beyond, and everything that come down with diabetes. Your body gets tired. You only get one. Remember, it was already an egg, and that egg was how old your mother is, you know, or some, or at least that old and stuff. And then you add that to your body, and you wonder why we pass, you know, or die at 70, 80, 90 years old or something like that. A 90-year-old, you add 18 to 20 years to that, you know, and stuff, and so on and so. You see where I'm getting at? Yeah, we old. And so even the babies is old. They come out an 18-year-old egg or something like that, or a 25-year-old egg and stuff. Yeah, they just was born, but the egg was 25, and stuff. And then when they got it fertilized, so on and so forth. So I'm just saying, just the thoughts, things to make you say, okay. And then you got type 2 diabetes. And I said that was the over 40 and everything. And then you got gestational. It's pregnant women, and especially over the age of 25. So some of us, had babies young. I started at 18 and then 23. I have two, 18 and 23 and stuff. So they got an 18-year-old egg and a 23-year-old egg added to whatever their age is and stuff. So I ain't going to tell you that because they're very young. They're very young. But anyway, it's saying all of this to say that it's the truth. Pastor Carol said, wow, yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm finding out. I'm doing this deep research and stuff, and I'm like, we that old? Like, oh my God. No wonder we got so many problems. I'm getting mad because I'm getting gray hair, and yeah, I should have been there. Had a lot more than this, and everything. So it happens. And then the mortality rate. Now, this is a big one because nobody speaks on this. They might tell you your blood sugar better be between 80 and 120, and your blood sugar better be this and that and stuff. But how do you get there in the first place and stuff? This mortality rate. Diabetes is the 8th leading cause of death worldwide, not in just USA, but the whole wide world, Craig. The whole wide world and stuff. So that part. And then World Health Organization, or WHO, and stuff, about 1.5 million deaths per year directly from diabetes. Directly from diabetes. Rosie Granny Allen said, my, Jesus. Yeah, Jesus, help us, please. Please. I'm a part of that whole little thing, and stuff. I'm a human being. Everybody else you can claim it or don't, and stuff, but you are a human being, whether you want to be or not, and stuff. More than 4 million deaths annually when including cardiovascular complications caused by diabetes. Do you know you can get, so Pastor Carol, this is where you come in with your question about diabetes and what can it do to your body over time. This is hello, I'm coming right now and stuff. So I just want to say that and cardiovascular complications are by diabetes, 4 million deaths annually meaning 1 year. So in 12 months, 4 million deaths. Good God, are we gonna have any people left? Or I don't know, but it seemed like a lot. It's excessive. Life expectancy is reduced by 6 to 10 years in uncontrolled diabetes. But I said something right there. It sounds bad, but I said something. I said life expectancy is reduced by 6 to 10 years in uncontrolled diabetes. Uncontrolled. So what you got to do? Understand the assignment. Stop being stubborn, get out your feelings, and start working on you so that you can reverse your diabetes. And if you can't reverse it, you better be on top of it and you get to live. But if you don't control them and you say, I don't care, I don't even eat sugar and stuff. Okay, sugar is in everything. Sugar is in stuff where you can't even taste the sugar and it's in there, and stuff like that. But it reduces your lifespan by 6 to 10 years. So if you were supposed to be 70 before you passed away, now you're going to be 60 or 50, 56 and stuff. If and so on and so forth. Do the math, and everything. And uncontrolled, meaning you ain't going to the doctor to get your A1C checked. You not going to the doctor to get your little machine so you can prick your finger. Or they got new stuff now where you just get a little continuous glucose monitor on you, and you can check your sugars that way, and you don't have to prick your finger. You just got to prick yourself if you got diabetes and you have to take insulin and everything. So it's crazy. Miss Josie said, let me see what she said. My doctor tell me she want my sugar no lower than 90 and no higher than 150. But I know every doctor tells a different level. Absolutely. So other doctors will tell different levels and stuff like that, but that's actually a more of a normal blood sugar for somebody that's diagnosed with at least pre-diabetes and stuff. If you keep them within that and stuff, you won't have as many complications, because if your blood sugar is just sitting around and it's 200, 300 all the time, it's tearing other stuff up. So that's where over time, Pastor Carol and stuff, that's where that kick in with it tear your kidneys up. It'll give you heart disease and tear your heart up. It can give you diabetes, can give you a heart attack. Not just high blood pressure, but diabetes can give you a heart attack. It can give you a stroke. Diabetes. It's mean. And stuff. Pastor Carol said, well, one of my questions is, how does it affect your kidneys? If your sugar is sitting in your body constantly at a high level and it's not being controlled, because either you haven't even figured out that you need to start taking something, or you haven't figured out how to snitch on it and tell the doctor these things are happening. That's where the 3 P's come in. That's some symptoms for you and stuff. But if you haven't even figured that part out, you got to actually know you got pre-diabetes or diabetes, and stuff. But at the same time, if you haven't even got to that place yet where you're checking it and stuff like that, that sugar is just sitting there like, oh, she ain't gonna do nothing. And then it mix and dance around with that cholesterol you got in there, hey. And then it dance around with that high blood pressure and stuff, and they all have the little party in there. And the treat is you. The big old present is, here come a heart attack. Here come coronary artery disease. That means your little water hose that your blood's supposed to be rushing through, and this big old hole and stuff, it gets smaller and smaller because they got all that diabetes, all that sugar and cholesterol, and they make a little ball together, and they call that a blood clot. And then you get a stroke and stuff. Yeah, that's what it does. So for kidneys, it just tears down the lining, and your kidneys are cleaners. That's your Mr. Clean of your body. So they're trying to scrub your blood and get it right and stuff. And so kidneys, your urine is the pee, and stuff. So sometimes they can take a pee test and diagnose you with some type of kidney problems and stuff, because you pee out sugar. You actually pee out glucose, and they can test that and show, these different things and stuff, different things that they check for when they're doing that little dipstick and stuff on your pee. And sometimes if it smells fruity, that's because it's sweet. Don't try it. Don't see what it tastes like. But I'm just saying, if it's fruity, that's the thing. That's the man, that's it, and stuff like that. So that's where the problems come in at. But it don't just touch kidneys. It wants to touch your heart. And don't you get only one heart? It want to touch the kidneys. You get 2 kidneys, but if one is impaired, you only got one more left and everything and stuff. But it don't just touch that. It touch your arteries. It touch your your veins. It breaks down everything inside your body. Anywhere it gets. And where's sugar at? Sugar is wherever blood is. And where's blood? Wherever your body, inside your body, under your skin. So it's visiting everywhere. It's not just about your kidneys. It's about your whole body. It's tearing everything up. It's tearing up your brain. Your brain needs nutrients and all of that stuff. It needs a little sugar too for energy and stuff so you can think right. But guess what? If it got too much, it's going to slow down the process and make it all sticky. And there go a blood clot, and there go a stroke, and stuff like that. It's all coming from that. And so Pastor Carol said, can it cause plaque in your blood? But absolutely. That's the dance with the cholesterol. Get a little cholesterol. That's your fat. lipids, you know, and stuff like that. So that's why they say high cholesterol, if you got high cholesterol and all of that stuff. But all of them, they get together and they team up and they jump you, because that's going on inside your body. You, me, you know, that's what they team up and do. And so when they clog up that artery, guess what it does? It cuts off blood supply to your heart. It cuts off blood supply to your brain, to your lungs, and all of that stuff. And that's where the heart attack comes in. That's where the stroke comes in. That's where death comes in. You know, that's where coronary artery. Coronary means heart. Artery disease, you know, and stuff like that. That's where all these little words and CAD and kidney, acute kidney injury or chronic kidney and dialysis and all of that stuff. That's where all this stuff is coming from. It's from sugar. We need sugar for the energy to move and to function. We don't need it in excess. So again, I'm visiting excess. Now I'm going to tell you about Pastor Carol, about I'm talking to everybody and stuff. I'm just saying she asked that question. So now I wanted to make sure that I addressed it and, you know, just getting her attention for it and stuff. And that is one of the number one causes of or risk factors of diabetes is genetics. Genetics, a family history of diabetes. It doesn't matter if it's 3 cousins removed. If they got it, you might can get it. Y'all DNA is in there somewhere, even if it's, you know, a distance, it's still there. And some people don't know all of their family on one side or the other or something like that. And maybe you know all of them, so you know that you can get it too. If they got it or that cousin on, it don't matter what side and stuff. It doesn't matter. You can get it too and stuff. That's what it's all about. That's why it's so scary. Inform yourself. Make sure you stay in control or it's going to control you and everything. So then you got lifestyle, poor diet, high sugar diets, high fat diets, fried chicken with some buttered jelly biscuits or I don't know. I was just trying to think of anything thick that we don't have no business eating in excess and stuff. But that's where all of that stuff comes from. And physical activity puts you at risk for diabetes. Gives you diabetes, you know, and stuff like that. Obesity, especially in our gut. Yeah, guess what? Men can't get pregnant, but they get that little stomach. And women, you know, you didn't already had your baby sometimes, and then you get that little stomach. And so where you think that come from? What was it from? It's from obesity. It's from getting, you know, overweight and everything. So that's where that comes in. Age, the risk factor, it increases after 45. But now that we got all this new stuff, Boba Nation and all these different foods to try and treats to try and stuff like that, we're getting it earlier because we're finding out or figuring out what she said, faith around and find out. Yeah, we're going to put it that one, faith around and find out. Okay. And then ethnicity, it's you're at higher risk in this order. Among the African Americans are number 1. Hispanic takes number 2. Native American takes number 3. Pacific Islander. So you mean the Samoans, they so large, you know, or most of the time and stuff, they're so large, you know, they be 13 and they be 6'7" and 800 pounds or something like that. Yeah. Because it's not always about just pure big or big boned and stuff. It's also how much unhealthy fat they have on them, you know, and stuff that does it. So Pacific Islanders. So it's African American, Hispanic, Native American, Pacific Islander, and South Asian populations. So you mean the Asian population? Yes. They said South Asian, so I'm assuming that will be more of your Filipino ethnicity and stuff like that. Yes. Yep. There's no way to go around that and stuff. But yes, it happens and everything. Not every single one, but you know, some. Just like not every single African American. Excuse me. And then there's medical conditions like hypertension that put you at risk for diabetes because they dance together. They dance with the devil together. So that's why they tear you up like that and stuff. And then there's this one called for women, it's called PCOS and stuff. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it, but it's called polycystic ovary syndrome. I'm not going to get into that because then that would be my my OBGYN topic, you know, and stuff when I start talking about that and everything. But it's a part of women, you know, and stuff, and a health problem and everything. But it puts you at high risk for diabetes and also bad cholesterol. So too much bad cholesterol puts you at high risk because it's like a sludge that helps the diabetes get together and so that they can form that beautiful clot in your blood and cut off your supply, causing you to have a stroke and possibly die and stuff. It's that bad and stuff. And then gestational a history of gestational a woman while pregnant having diabetes can end up converting to diabetes after she has the baby and was not diabetic before then and stuff, but after she had it during pregnancy, you can convert to diabetes. That's where everybody does anyway, you know, and stuff though. As far as women, they didn't have their kids and stuff, and then later on in life, now they got diabetes and stuff. So that's where all that comes in at. So illnesses diabetes can cause, Pastor Carol and stuff. Cardiovascular disease, CVD. This is heart attacks and strokes. This is what diabetes sitting around in your body is causing, especially if you don't get control of it. Meaning control is the word. Uncontrolled, you in trouble. Say hello to diabetes at its worst. Control, meaning I got this man-made insulin. I got this metformin. I got this glyburide or whatever other little medicines they got and stuff, you know, and you got a chance to prolong your life, but just ignoring it. Go ahead and start making arrangements for your funeral. Yeah. Yep. Me too. You know, if I don't want to control it or try to figure out, you know, that I have it or something like that, or I'm not watching the signs. Yeah. Say hello to it to me too, you know, and everything. So then you got kidney disease. So it's called diabetic nephropathy, which means kidney disease, period. And then there's another one called nerve damage, and that's diabetic neuropathy. I have neuropathy, but I got it from COVID because I'm a long hauler and I got all types of symptoms that I didn't even know that I was supposed to get or whatever. They called it plantar fasciitis. Please check that. You know, if you've ever been diagnosed with plantar fasciitis, please check into that deeper because that's what they told me I had, plantar fasciitis. It was actually neuropathy, which is the level up. It's crippling, but they got help for you because I got help and I walk. And I walk blocks now when I couldn't even, it felt like I was walking on glass. I felt crippled, you know, and stuff for a long time and stuff. And so now I take certain vitamins and everything. And I have a nerve pill that I take from time to time and everything and stuff. But it ain't no joke when you don't know if you're going to be able to step out the bed and walk and stuff. It's crazy. But like I said, I get stuff. And we're the same because we're human. But the only difference between me being a nurse and you may not be a nurse or something like that is the fact that I know to tell on it faster. And so that's the only difference I got. That's my only superpower is I tell on it faster. And I keep myself informed. So you got to keep on coming back and stuff, getting this good information. Because even if it doesn't fit you, it doesn't have to. It could fit maybe helping your mom, helping your dad, helping your cousin, your sister, your brother, your best friend, or something like that. So it's still other things that this can do just by you sitting here and listening to this information and everything. So thank you for listening and stuff. So then you got eye damage. It's called diabetic retinopathy or blindness. It can cause blindness, diabetes, because you got nerves in your eye, and it will eat at the nerves in your eye and tear it up because it doesn't stay in its lane. It's uncontrolled. Once it's uncontrolled, then it's going wherever it can. Wherever the blood takes it, it's going there and it's tearing it up. Also, there's other illnesses that are caused by diabetes is foot ulcers and amputations. That's why people be having like right below their knee amputation, or maybe they might have it up at the high thigh, so it's called above the knee amputation, depending on if you got a knee after you have the surgery, that amputation. You could get fingers cut off, you could get toes cut off, you could get partial foot cut off, and so on and so forth, until they can't cut nothing else off but and everything. So that's caused by diabetes. So make no mistake, it's deadly, it's nasty, it's filthy and stuff. You get infections and sores that don't heal and everything. If you got a sore and it ain't never healed, or a surgery and it ain't never healed, and time after time after time, it's, oh my goodness. Rosie Granny Allen said, y'all listen, okay? That's right. And then another thing that diabetes causes, Alzheimer's disease or dementia. Alzheimer's is the actual disease and it's genetic. Dementia is all the things that Alzheimer's does, but it happens later on in life and everything, and it's just the symptoms of it. Memory loss and all the stuff that Alzheimer's is, it's just the symptoms of it and everything, but it makes you at higher risk for both. Either or. Either you was born with it, or you get it and you mess around and find out, or faith around and find out. Okay. And stuff. So symptoms of diabetes, going back just for a second, make no mistake, unexplained weight loss. This is always one that if you haven't been dieting and it ain't no planned thing, you better go get checked out, because it's not doing it for nothing and stuff. You got to get checked out and stuff. Then also there is blurred vision. Not because you put contacts in, but blurred vision because you just can't see anymore and stuff. My eyes is getting bad. It ain't always because you old. It's because your sugars might be up and they're not controlled, and you're not even trying to go to the doctor and see if they can be. So that means going to them yearly doctor's appointments and getting those eyes checked out and everything. Getting those readers. The readers might help you just a little bit more and stuff. I have to pull out mine all the time and look at stuff, and read stuff, because they all start running together. When I had 2015 vision, it is not that anymore. So I'm saying I find out just like you guys. I just tell on it faster. That's the only difference and stuff. So then you got fatigue and irritability. You could become really angry and don't know why. Not in control of your feelings and different things like that and stuff. That's where all of that comes in. And fatigue, just feeling like I just don't have no strength left. I'm tired of being tired. I'm just tired, and stuff like that. Like I said, the slow wound healing. Like I scraped myself. That was like 2 weeks ago, and I'm still bleeding, and it still be, leaking out and stuff like that. That's the problem. You got to tell on that. That's a thing. That's an actual thing and stuff. Then you got frequent infections, and stuff. And then another one people sleep on. Do you know that infection is gingivitis? When your gums swell up and they get them little bubbles and then they just bleed, you brush your teeth and you got a blood bath going on and stuff like that. That's the problem. If you don't get to that dentist, I don't care what they do. Tell them to dope you up. Find out what your Medicare, Medi-Cal, or whatever can pay for and stuff. But get doped up and get them get those darn teeth. Oh my God. But get them teeth fixed. Yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem. You need teeth to eat and stuff. And so then also getting those urinary tract infections. I have been privy to them before, and stuff, but I did clean up my A1C level and stuff, which then help improve how frequent I would get urinary tract infections, and stuff like that. So that's another one. Don't sleep on it. You better tell on it and stuff. Tingling and numbness in the hands and feet. That's a nerve problem. That's that when you start getting pins and needles in your feet and stuff and in your hands and they go numb, the tips of your fingers and stuff. That's a problem. It's time to tell. It's time to do something. You got to and everything. And then there's treatments for all of this and stuff. The biggest treatments you can do is lifestyle modification. No, you don't have to be perfect. No, you don't have to be like the ones running up and down and seem like they're running for miles all around and stuff. They might have another mission. You don't know what they've been through. Everybody's body is different and stuff. Pay attention to your body and stuff. And that would be a healthy diet is number one. And I talked about nutrition and everything and even healthy diet. I might go ahead and revisit that just so that I make sure that I give you a whole power pack of treatment and things for diabetes, but also weight control. We said it's obesity and sometimes even underweightness and just eating unhealthy and stuff like that. But obesity is the biggest factor and it's the most common factor of diabetes and stuff. So working on that, working on getting that that healthy weight and stuff like that and getting that physical activity, even if it's just walking. I found out that just walking at a slow pace, but walking a distance and everything is just as good as running around a track trying to be one of those Usain Bolt or Sha'Carri Richardson running around the tracks and stuff like that. Welcome on in, Miss Kiki. Make sure you catch the replay and stuff. No worries and everything. Glad to see you come on. Yes. And so that's a big deal and stuff like that. So physical activity, make something of it and stuff. I got a habit of, cleaning up is actually one. So make that your physical activity until you could graduate to a little bit more and stuff. Cleaning up is excellent, way of doing that and stuff. All that bending and taking the garbage out and walking up and down the stairs and doing your thing, going back and forth to the laundry and stuff like that. That's physical movement and stuff, and it helps and stuff. Believe it or not, it probably hurt a little bit and make you tired and wear you out and stuff, but that's what you need. Your heart needs it, and stuff like that. So that's a good thing. Then you got injectables like these GLP-1s, Ozempic and blah blah blah, and Trulicities and A1C things and stuff. Some are for weight loss without surgery and stuff, and some are for diabetes, lowering your diabetes and stuff like that. But they got all these different kinds of medications, injectables. They got the oral diabetes medicine like metformins and sulfonylureas or something like that. They say it on the commercials and stuff. Forget that. I'm just saying they got medication. They got pills. They got injectables like your insulins and your, different kind of insulin or the little tubes of insulin and stuff like that, which I have over here. All of these are helpers and different ones and stuff. Regular glucose check. That means going ahead and if you haven't graduated to they have continuous glucose monitors where you get popped one time. It stays on 14, 15 days or something now. And then you just take that off, and that's one little pop, and then you can just check your blood sugar with your phone, or they have these little readers and you can check your blood sugar, or you could do the old-fashioned until you could get there and graduate to that, pricking your finger and checking your blood sugar. Know your numbers, know them. You got to, or it's called uncontrolled diabetes. And so you can't just guess, well, I stopped eating at Taco Bell and I stopped eating fast foods and stuff. That doesn't mean anything. It's, have you changed your whole lifestyle around? Stop eating fried foods at home. Stop eating, even a peanut butter and jelly sandwich can hurt you, if you eat it in excess. That's why I said excess is everything. If you do it in excess, it's a problem and everything. So then you got monitoring your blood glucose. And that's what the checks, the little pricks on the finger. And then also these A1C where they take a little blood. It's still a prick on the finger. As far as I know, all the time, but it's also through blood tests. You can get a glucose test. And that's why they say fasting, not just for the church people that say we're fasting and praying and stuff like that and stuff, but an actual fasting, meaning not eat nothing for 10 to 12 hours before you get your blood test. That's also called fasting. If you ate something, you brush your teeth and ate an egg sandwich and stuff, and then you go in there talking about, yep, I didn't eat nothing, or I didn't eat nothing hardly and stuff, that's not fasting. You cannot have nothing except for water. Not juice, not Kool-Aid, not apple juice or nothing like that and stuff. If you want to get an actual thing, you need to only have water and not have eaten or drank anything for 8 to 10 hours except for water, and stuff like that. Or maybe taking your pills or something like that and stuff. So it's real precise, or it'll mess everything up. So I got a few more minutes that I'm gonna go stay on, and that's because I wasn't on last week. I hope y'all miss me. I miss me. But and that is I like to do this myth versus facts thing and stuff, and I think it's really fun to come up with it, because you'll be surprised what people believe and stuff and what they end up not doing because they heard this or they heard that, but they didn't go check it out for themselves, and everything. Check me out and stuff. I'm telling you, I'm a fact giver and stuff. But myth: eating too much sugar directly causes diabetes. I said that's a myth. The fact is, excess sugar contributes to obesity, which increases the risk, but diabetes is multifactorial, meaning it has a whole bunch of ways of arriving at diabetes. And just eating too much sugar is not the simple one. It's overeating it. Like I said, if you got a cake sitting in front of you and you eat a slice, you good. If you got a cake sitting in front of you and you don't stop until the whole cake is gone when nobody else getting a slice but you, that's a problem. Mental health wise or other and stuff, it's a problem. So that's where it comes in. So like I said, with hypertension and stuff, no added salt, don't add no extra salt or something like that. If you still using white table salt and you sprinkling that over all your food, you just can't get enough and stuff, that's a problem. If you have a little bit of one of these seasoning salts, if you're not using a whole excess amount and stuff, then yeah, you could probably get away with it. But when you start using that excess amount, don't even wonder why your blood pressure is high. It's just going to be there and stuff. You put too much in and stuff. It's excessive. So myth: only overweight people get diabetes. Only the fat people, big fat people, get diabetes. Okay. Fact: thin people can also develop type 1 or type 2 diabetes. If you're human, you can get it. Okay? Yeah, but it's not, don't pick on the big fat or thickies or curvies or nothing like that, and stuff. Anybody can get it. Even if you skinny, bony, whatever and stuff, whatever you want to call yourself and stuff, it don't matter, you can get it. Okay? And then we got diabetes ain't serious. That's an untruth. Fact: it can cause life-threatening complications if uncontrolled. Again, that word, uncontrolled, meaning you're not even in control of, you don't even know you got diabetes. That's a problem. You got to follow the symptoms and stuff. So then you got, this is the untruth, a myth: people with diabetes cannot eat carbs or sweets. Didn't I just say that? No, I'm just playing. But fact: they can, in moderation. One slice or all the slices, the whole cake. Come on now and stuff. So in moderation, as a part of a balanced diet. So you can have sweets. There's grapes that are sweet. There's apples that are sweet. Bananas are sweet They have a natural sugar, and stuff. So there's so many things that are sweet and everything. It's just, if you do it with a stop button on there and stuff, you might be able to get to the other side. If you do it and you go willy-nilly, I don't care, I'm not getting them and stuff. I don't know nobody in my family that got them and stuff. You're going to be the first. Hello, diabetes. Hello. And stuff. So then we got one more. Type 2 diabetes is always mild. It ain't nothing to it and stuff. Don't listen to that nurse and stuff talking about your body is a snitch. What she know about anything? She only got 2 decades in medical, 3 decades in the healthcare field, period. And stuff. She don't know nothing about no diabetes and all of that stuff, right? Fact. All types of diabetes are serious and require management. All types. So if you get it while you're pregnant, that's because I ate too many pickles and some ice cream and stuff. It's good that I'm not nauseated and stuff. I'm eating food. Ice cream ain't food. Ice cream and pickles ain't food. You're going to get high blood pressure and diabetes and stuff. You could have both of them. The high blood pressure when you're pregnant is called preeclampsia, and it puts your baby at risk for you and your baby passing away, and stuff. So I'm just saying and stuff. So you see why it's so important that I go ahead and give you all this good information and stuff. I'm not playing here, and stuff. I try to make it as short as I can, but in order to do you justice, I have to go over everything and then put a little something in there for you to remember certain things, to remember that you need to make sure that you start getting your A1C, hemoglobin A1C levels checked. They determine how bad your diabetes is. On average, a A1C, normal A1C is less than 5.4. And then I think it's 5.6, but 5.6 or 5.4. But either way, if you anywhere near that, you close to normal and stuff. Whereas pre-diabetes, that's the one that everybody is almost is this if you getting diagnosed with diabetes. But guess what? When you're in pre-diabetes, this is a fact. You can undiabetes yourself and go back to no diabetes. But you got to want to do it. And you got to follow some strict guidelines, but you can undiabetes yourself, undiabetical yourself. If you got diabetes and you got diabetes, you can make your diabetes more mild than terrible. Terrible is when they just keep going higher and higher and stuff, because diabetes is 6.5 and higher and stuff for diabetes. But guess what it get up to? It gets up to serious diabetes. It gets up to 13 or 14, I think. You know what 14 is? A stroke and a heart attack. You know what 14 is? Amputation of your foot, leg, arm, fingers, toes, and everything else. You know what 14 is? A stroke and being a vegetable for the rest of your life. You know what diabetes is? Being diabetic, or what anything over that 13, 14, 11, 12, and all of those numbers and stuff like that. That's when you better mess around and find out and get your affairs in order, because it's time to go home. I don't know which home, up or down or whatever and stuff, whichever one you get to go to, it's gonna show up and stuff. But that's from actual diabetes. So remember, diabetes, make no mistake, is a medical emergency, and you need to control it, because uncontrolled is sudden death. No matter what, you can hide it for a little while and your body is going to take a beating before it goes, but you can hide it a little bit, but you ain't going to be able to hide it before you got to control it, or you're going to go and stuff. It's just as simple as that and stuff. So Rosetta Granny Allen said, I gotta go, but good lesson. Keep on going. God got you all day, every day. Okay. Much love, Rosie. Bless you. I love you too, and much love to you, Miss Rosie. That's what she said to me and stuff. So, take home message, and then I'm gonna go ahead and leave you guys and stuff. But I gotta make up for last week too, and stuff. That's why I gave you such thorough information and everything. And that is, diabetes is a global health crisis affecting all ages. Even the babies can get it and stuff. Early detection, lifestyle changes, and medical care can prevent complications like getting something cut off, a stroke, a heart attack, and all of that stuff. The 3 P's: polyuria, which is excessive peeing; polydipsia, which is excessive thirst; and polyphagia, which is excessive hunger, are key warning signs. You get any one of those or all 3 and stuff, you better go tell on it. I didn't say you get to die. I said you get to go tell on it. It's warning you. It's snitching. Your body is a snitch, believe it. That's my LLC right under my name, Nurse Charlene and stuff. That's where that comes from and everything. Your body is snitching. It got 3 P's for diabetes and stuff. And then they got different ones when we get to back to the basics and stuff. And I'll start giving you, and you're going to see the warning signs. And then you're going to say, oh, that's where that comes in at and everything. So then proper treatment allows people with diabetes to live long, healthy life. Long. Remember, uncontrolled cuts off 6 to 10 years of your life. So if you were supposed to be 70 now, you're going to be 60 before you pass, and stuff. If you were supposed to be 80, you're going to be 70. But it cuts you off. What about your family? People love you, and stuff like that. Yeah, what's going to happen? Okay, so I'm just saying, education and awareness are the strongest tools in reducing the burden of diabetes worldwide. Meaning, get yourself educated, get you a couple podcasts like this, check out the information for yourself, and do a little extra research. It's okay, maybe you could give me some and I'll put it in my next live, and everything and stuff. But either way, find out before you find out. I don't know how you rest in peace. I don't know. But anyway, find out before you find out, and stuff. I'm just saying. And like I said, the only difference between me and you, well, it's a couple differences, of course, and stuff. But I'm saying the biggest difference between me and you, we all can get it. We all are human beings. But the difference is, I managed to go in this route to educate myself in this area, in this particular area. I need help in other areas and stuff, but I managed to educate myself in this area. So when I'm telling you this, I'm telling you this out of a sheer, I'm blessed to know what I know and stuff, and to give you that information and stuff. I'm not going to gatekeep. As long as God keeps opening up my eyes and educating me and helping me to research and look at different things and stuff, then I'm going to tell you, because it needs to be told. The story needs to go on. And it's not about, podcasts or the trend and stuff. I'm going to be doing this even after the trend is over with and stuff, because I feel you need to know. And I'm going to continue to educate myself. So watch out, because I'm going to be learning more and more and more. And then I'm going to give you more and more and more in layman's terms, because this is medical talk in layman's terms with Nurse Charlene. And the topic tonight was diabetes, a complete overview. And so I went a little bit different. I pivoted, but the whole main take home is get yourself educated. Let's take care of our bodies. All of us. I still got work to do, and stuff. So I'm not saying it because I'm perfect and I got it all together. I'm saying it because it needs to be said, because we mess around and we're uninformed, and then we find out and then we're mad. We're angry. Why I gotta have it? What happened to me? What's wrong with me? And stuff. If they would cut my check, or they wouldn't do this or do that and stuff, I would have enough money. Yeah, all of that. Or you just find out. Start being aware of your body. It got a magical switch, and it's called a snitch. It's telling on you. Now, it's in you. It can't lie on you and stuff. It's going to tell you. It's going to give you that itch. It's going to give you that headache. It's going to give you that swelling. It's going to give you that pain. And the reason why it's doing that is because it's trying to tell you, hey, something wrong. And then when you don't listen, it lets it jump. It lets it jump you. And then you find out that way. And you don't want to find out that way and be in a hospital because you passed out because your blood pressure was too high, or you went to sleep and they couldn't wake you up or something like that. And now you're on the feeding tube and a monitor or something like that because you fell into a coma or something like that because you never checked your blood sugar. Come on, y'all. Because when you go through it, your family goes through it too. So everybody worries and stuff. So my biggest take home is, come on, let's start getting more conscious of it and watch ourselves, because we can be in a lot of trouble. All right, you guys and stuff. This is the end of it. You can catch me again. So I am streaming right now live on YouTube. So, like and subscribe this video and all the other ones you'll be able to see under Medical Talk in Layman's Terms with Nurse Charlene on YouTube. If you didn't want to come on and show your, face on the, it's okay and everything. But then the other alternative is to come on Facebook under Charlene Nurse Allen and stuff. And you can see me that way as a Facebook friend. I'm public, so you can always catch me that way. Also, I'm working on Instagram and TikTok and filling those things out and stuff. So definitely those things are going on and stuff like that. And so like, tag, share, go on and subscribe to my YouTube. And I put out a little thing, but maybe people didn't understand and stuff. I need y'all to help me go viral on TikTok. So I need y'all to go on there and follow me on TikTok. It's called Nurse Charlene. Yes, Nurse Charlene on TikTok and stuff. That's how you find me. And then you'll see my face in a little picture and stuff. And you'll be able to find me on there and stuff like that. So I can get on there and start TikToking with you guys and everything. Auntie Josie, before I get off, Auntie Josie said, I check my blood sugar 4 to 5 times a day. That is excellent. And that's good. I don't know if you have the continuous glucose monitor, but that one is a lot easier than pricking your finger 4 or 5 times a day, because that kind of gets tedious to you. But knowing your numbers will save your life. It will keep you out the hospital and keep you at the doctor's office, but at least it'll keep you out the hospital and keep you out of a coma, either way and stuff. So that's very safe to do. And I appreciate everybody that's on here. And remember, it's not always a one size fits all. It's medical talk and everything and stuff. So if it doesn't help you, it might help your neighbor. It might help your loved one in some sort of way and stuff. It might help somebody down the street or somebody up the street and stuff, but it will help somebody and everything. So I'm signing off for tonight and stuff. You'll join me next Tuesday at 7 p.m. sharp. And I'll try to be a little bit shorter and stuff. But if not, it looks like I'm doing probably an hour and a half of talk and stuff. So if you guys can adjust your schedule to that, I got some good stuff. And if you can't make it or you come in late and stuff, catch the replay. It's all right. You just won't get to talk back and forth with me. I try to acknowledge everybody. And remember, when I get off this live, I go back into the comments and I answer questions also that way. So you could come back to it and see that I tagged you in a comment or something like that and stuff that you might have asked a question and stuff. But either way, I address it and everything. But thank you guys for your time, your energy, and your questions and participation. I appreciate you. And I thank you for appreciating me by just simply coming on and stuff. You guys take care. And remember, let's take care of our body, because your body's a snitch. Believe it. All right.